Thank you, Marcia. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. As she said, like I'm Mili Saha and from Bangladesh. I teach at a university in Bangladesh, but I'm doing my PhD in Australia. So, but this is not my PhD work. It's the initial plan, which I'm not working now. But the current plan is even bigger than that. But this one is interesting. So, as you see, my title is Non-Native English-Speaking Teachers' Cognitions of Teaching Pronunciation: Insights from Rural Bangladesh. I did not actually cover both urban and rural context. Just to introduce the problem, as we all know, in EFL context, pronunciation instruction is crucial for developing second language learners' communication skills. But in Bangladesh, many school teachers have been found reluctant to teach it due to inadequate knowledge and beliefs, as literature shows. Literature also shows, despite acknowledging the need for systematic teaching to address local students' poor pronunciation issues, teachers often skip pronunciation lessons given in the national curriculum textbooks. Those are given through the government and freely provided to all the students, but still teachers do not teach pronunciation or speaking lessons most often. But limited research has been found. So far, I have found how teachers' knowledge and beliefs influence their pronunciation teaching practices or teaching decisions, and their knowledge and beliefs and practice, the relationships between these two. So my case study, drawn on Borg's second language teachers' cognitions theory, examines Bangladeshi non-native English-speaking teachers' cognitions that combines their knowledge, beliefs, and thoughts about teaching English pronunciation in the EFL context of Bangladesh. Let's look at the theory a bit. Second language teacher cognition. As Borg views, second language teachers engage in critical thinking to make instructional decisions, drawing from their complex, individualized, and context-sensitive knowledge, beliefs, and thoughts. And that's why what teachers know, believe, and think about language teaching comprise their cognitions. So this is a combination of three cognitive elements, like their knowledge, beliefs, and thinking. But it's not thinking, actually. These thoughts that they bring to their classroom, and thinking is a process. That's a different one. So teacher cognition is mutually influenced by teachers' language learning experiences, the way they learn English as second language, their professional coursework, or even professional in-service training that they receive while they were teaching, and their initial teaching practice and contextual factors. So these four factors are called the four constants of teacher cognition theory, which really make interactions between teachers' cognition and practice and impact their practice.
Is it just me or I cannot hear you anymore? I think you're... Can everyone else hear?
No, we can't hear her.
I think she froze. Can everybody hear? I think, yeah, I think it's on her end. I think she froze for a second.
Oh, no.
It's okay, everyone. Just give maybe 30 seconds to a minute. Sometimes it resolves.
Oh,
Okay. She'll sign back on probably.
yeah.
She's in Bangladesh, right?
I'm not really sure. She's
I think it's 2 a.m. her time. I've done that before. That's not fun. See. She's probably signing back in. There she is. She's back.
back.
Perfect.
I'm back.
Yes, you're back.
We lost you for a few seconds.
Yeah, it was a bit unstable from the very beginning.
Okay.
So I have to get back. Sorry for the interruption. I hope you can see the slide.
Yep, we can see it. Go
So
ahead.
just to look at language teacher cognition, as the diagram shows, is all about teachers' beliefs, knowledge, theories, attitudes, assumptions, like all conceptions and perceptions or principles about teaching, teachers, learning, subject matter, curricula, or materials. But this is, widely impacted by teachers' schooling experiences, the way they learned language, and at the same time, the way they learn to teach language, that impact on their existing cognitions through, spatially when unacknowledged, this may limit its impact. That means the knowledge they gather from training or coursework may not be effective as the way it was expected if they do not reflect on their beliefs, perceptions, cognitions to relate it to practice. And that's why language teacher cognition directly impact their classroom practice, including practice teaching, which are also impacted by other contextual factors. But there are significant relationships between teacher cognition and practice that may be consistent and inconsistent in both ways. When it is consistent, so definitely they directly change their cognition as the way they have more experience of teaching practice, and that improve their practices. But if it is inconsistent, then it really creates a barrier of enhancing practices, and definitely the practice is then more impacted by contextual factor instead of their knowledge or beliefs. Let's look a bit the teachers' cognitions about teaching pronunciation, since I will be looking at that. What the international literature, or the global literature shows beyond Bangladeshi context. Second language instructors often lack confidence in their ability to teach pronunciation. And despite holding positive views towards its importance, in most literature, I found teachers want to teach pronunciation, but they lack confidence and they don't teach it. But they believe it should be taught systematically. And non-native English-speaking teachers, like those who are teaching English in Bangladesh as in EFL context, hesitate to teach pronunciation due to socio-cultural and contextual factors, such as perceived limitation of their own pronunciation, time limits, strict curricula, where actually they have no scope to assess pronunciation, and insufficient guidance, in teachers' guidance book, and limited professional knowledge. So that's what was found in some other context. And particularly in Vietnamese context, it was observed that teachers tend to address pronunciation reactively using traditional methods like drills and reading aloud, with an emphasis on spatially segments like vowels and consonants like pa, ba, the sounds that are obviously pronounced inside the classroom, rather than suprasegmental words like stress, rhythm, or intonation, which is more connected to native speakers or native speaking accent, which are perceived as more challenging than teaching segments like vowels and consonants inside EFL classrooms. So teachers avoid this spatially. In many other contexts, pronunciation instruction focuses on corrective feedback. Like whenever students make mistakes in pronunciation, they just give feedback to make it correct, that's it. And there is no formal or structured instruction on pronunciation. At the word or phoneme level, they do it, but teachers themselves question its effectiveness in addressing learner errors, and they believe that it should be more widely taught. However, they can't manage for different reasons. This doubt is often associated with their inadequate knowledge in teaching pronunciation. That's very clear. They believe they can't do it, and that's why they don't do it. So in my context, like since it's a very simple monolingual and EFL context where Bengali is the medium of instruction in most public schools, although we do have EMI too, but those indigenous students who have multilingual background, they come to school to teach, being taught in Bengali as to get integrated with the mainstream community. So all of them learn English as second language. So in these monolingual context, I chose to do case studies because I have to look at different teachers and in different school contexts, like elementary and high school context, where these teachers may have different knowledge, different beliefs and thoughts about teaching pronunciation. So I'm presenting the phase 1 of my study, where I will be addressing 2 research questions. The first one is, what are the Bangladeshi primary and high school teachers' cognitions about teaching English pronunciation? And how do they practice teaching pronunciation in rural primary and high schools? But to address these research questions, I will be looking at their demographic questionnaire, where they'll be talking about their language learning experience and the way they learn how to teach English and their context, where do they work. And then I will be going for semi-structured interviews with 2 high school and 2 primary English teachers who are located in rural school settings. At the second phase, I will be looking at their classroom practice, exactly the way they teach pronunciation, to check if they really do the way they think it should be done. And that's part of theory, where we look at the relationship between cognition and practice. And as I have said, this relationship can be both way, like consistent and inconsistent. And data was analyzed using reflexive thematic analysis of Clark and Brown. So it's new and everyone does. I do because I believe that these themes should be constructively created by me. It should not be immersed from the context, because I know exactly what I want to see, because my problem is theory driven. To look at the results, first we'll check what the high school teacher won. The first high school teacher, Baijit, knowledge about teaching pronunciation. So Baiji told he had a course in phonetics supplemented by resources such as a guide to correct speech that's usually used in his course, and it was used while it was specialization in ELT was not introduced at Bangladesh universities. So he was part of national university curriculum. So he was using this book, A Guide to Correct Speech, for phonetics course, and he was going through some English journals to know about pronunciation. That significantly contributed to his knowledge of pronunciation. Besides, he had exposure to English movies and dramas that played a crucial role in enhancing his pronunciation skills. However, he has received no professional training in teaching pronunciation. So we are always detecting that this knowledge about pronunciation or pronunciation skills really differ from professional learning about teaching pronunciation, because that's all about pedagogy. That he had not, but he was an experienced teacher. Like Baijit, well, I was looking at his beliefs. He believes phonological knowledge is essential for teaching tone and preventing meaning changes from incorrect pronunciation that we often make. And he advocates for formal pronunciation lessons through dialogue practice using engaging methods like short and funny stories. That really goes with communicative language teaching, CLT. And he notes that pronunciation is often overlooked in Bangladeshi classrooms, especially at the secondary levels, because this is literacy focused and students need to get ready to be publicly examined and assessed. So they have standardized tests, public exams, so they don't have time to focus on speaking or other speaking skills. And he takes on the challenge, particularly given the rural demographic. He teaches it from his own motivation. Bayajid believes integrating basic pronunciation rules into secondary English textbooks and assessments can boost teacher confidence and student enthusiasm. So he wants the rule like grammar rules in a grammar translation method, but in CLT, it should be practice-based, but he believes that's not enough to encourage the students or give the teachers confidence to teach pronunciation because they lack training. While he sees technology as a key to improve outcomes, he acknowledges his own limitation regarding his awareness of intelligible pronunciation or native and non-native speakers models. Bajid highlights the challenges faced by students in remote areas where limited resources and literacy issues make teaching pronunciation difficult. Despite this, he prefers teaching pronunciation using methods like imitation and modeling that really goes directly against CLT, as the students respond well to them. But he finds this is student friendly, and he abhors criticism and provides constructive feedback through audio recordings. Bayajid emphasizes the importance of pronunciation in language learning, stating that without it, English language proficiency is incomplete. And he is confident and enjoys teaching it, believing clear pronunciation is essential, especially in English. And he notes that the pronunciation can change meaning as seen in regional variations in Bangladesh. So he's very aware of these outcomes. although he lacks training. So let's look at the other teacher, the second school teacher, high school teacher called Fozia. She is a bit less experienced than Bayajid, but she has some different beliefs and thoughts about teaching pronunciation. Fozia believes that using a native speaker model helps students develop intelligible pronunciation and boosts her own confidence as a teacher to teach, because she has something solid in her hand and she can use this confidently. She emphasizes that some training and technological support have improved her ability to teach pronunciation effectively in rural high schools. Fozia thinks it's important for her students to learn English pronunciation as non-native speakers, though she teaches it as a curriculum requirement. And she uses the imitation technique as it's easier and reflects how she was taught pronunciation. So here you find the reflections of theory, that the way she was taught, she tries to apply that same technique, but she finds this is easier for her, not for her students, or she didn't mention about that. So Fozia employs a native speaker model and gives positive feedback to engage students. So and confident in her approach, she prefers using apps and videos of native speakers because she has to model that. She doesn't like to model by herself, finding their pronunciation more appropriate for teaching through imitation without focusing on theory. So I had to infer Fozia's knowledge based on her beliefs and thoughts, because she didn't demonstrate any different knowledge than Bayajid. So she had the same phonetics course and during her graduation period, and she had the same resources she used to learn. But unlike Bayajid, Fozia shows a strong understanding of intelligible pronunciation that I detected, and the importance of focusing on non-native speakers' clarity. She also emphasized the necessity of using native speaker models, because she is not confident to model the pronunciation. She is not quite sure that her pronunciation is should be a standard to teach, and differing from Bayajid in terms of her own confidence, and she believes she needs to improve her own pronunciation teaching skills. So that's all about high school teachers. And to know about elementary teacher, I went to a non-experienced new elementary teachers. Her name was Raina, all the pseudonyms. So she emphasizes the importance of a strong understanding of English phonology, covering vowels, consonants, rhythm, and intonation for effective pronunciation teaching. With her theoretical and pedagogical knowledge from postgraduate studies, she advocates for integrating pronunciation instruction into the teacher education curricula. So that's a huge thought, and she believes this is essential, especially for teaching children across Bangladesh who lack access to external learning resources. Like where she teaches in rural areas, students have no English exposure except the classroom and the text. So they need to, they need more, even they need more effective training for those teachers who will teach these low resource in this low resourced area and these deprived students. Raina notes that pronunciation receives little emphasis in English language classrooms across Bangladesh, particularly in rural schools, where it is often only addressed when tied to specific learning objectives. And she finds teaching pronunciation challenging due to students' unfamiliarity with native accents and their lack of interest, as is quite common in rural area. And Raina expresses her reluctance to focus on pronunciation instruction, referring to insufficient knowledge of effective pedagogical approaches and a lack of confidence in her ability to teach it. But she acknowledges that these students cannot read aloud only because they cannot pronounce the word properly, or they do not know the pronunciation of any word or some sounds. So she wants to start with teaching sounds regarding pronunciation or regarding reading aloud. So I inferred her knowledge from her beliefs and thoughts. Like he had a course in phonetics and phonology at postgraduate level, and that's a very specialized course in English language teaching degree, but she demonstrated little subject matter or pedagogical knowledge while she was talking to me regarding teaching pronunciation. She mainly reported her knowledge of the context and students. So I was thinking about the second teacher, Mohana, who is a bit more experienced than her, like if there is any differences between these two teachers. Mona believes it would be beneficial for teachers to have a strong understanding of phonology, and she teaches primary English. That's why she knows most of the words, how to pronounce correctly. So she doesn't confront any challenges while teaching pronunciation, but she knows, she believes that it would be great for teachers to introduce phonology to their students so that they can learn pronunciation by themselves, but it is too early for the elementary students. But she believes that this will help the students at the later stages, like in high school or at university levels. So she focuses on theoretical knowledge more than the practical ones. And Mona also enjoys teaching students the basics of pronunciation, although she does not feel fully confident. In her childhood, she was taught using the grammar translation method like imitation and the modeling, and that's why she lacks knowledge about teaching pronunciation practically, like in a CLT method. But she believes for younger learners, teachers can teach pronunciation implicitly while they are teaching reading, but the older learners who have already fossilized with wrong pronunciation or wrong accent, they need to be taught more formally and explicitly. So regarding her knowledge, I found she attended a course on English phonetics and phonology at the postgraduate level, and she understands the fundamentals of phonetics, including vowels, consonants, diphthongs, monophthongs, and stress patterns. However, despite this knowledge, she still finds phonology intimidating and feels that the course has not alleviated her fears. She is still not confident about her own pronunciation or teaching pronunciation. To summarize the findings, as I can say that despite being this teacher's experienced and confident, Bayajid lacks professional training, which is the biggest issue with these all 4 teachers, as I found. And in contrast, Fozia, with a similar academic background, but some professional learning, demonstrates a stronger understanding of intelligible pronunciation and confidence in using native speaker models, because she understands why should she be using native speaker models, and she knows how to use these through YouTube or other apps. So through integrating technology, that's an important issue that she does. She reported that she practices in this way. Though trained in phonetics and phonology at the postgraduate level, Raina lacks pedagogical knowledge and confidence in teaching pronunciation, while Mohana, a bit more experienced and having similar training in phonetics, grasps the fundamentals but finds phonology intimidating and still lacks confidence. So I was wondering, what is that make them less confident, and at the same time, they have own fear of their pronunciation and pronunciation skills, or like knowledge about teaching pronunciation. So that's all about they have limited knowledge and beliefs, and their confidence in teaching pronunciation varies with experienced teachers generally being more confident. And in-service training is found to be more effective than pre-service coursework, as they reported that pre-service coursework really could not alleviate their fears. So definitely they believe pronunciation should be integrated into the curriculum and should be taught formally with using structured lessons, not implicitly, not as a corrective feedback, but they teach it minimally due to its exclusion from written exams. So that's an issue. Like if they don't need to assess it, they won't teach it. That's very simple. And although interested in communicative methods, these teachers' actual practices focus on drills and imitation, as they reported. Teachers recognize the potential of technology in pronunciation teaching due to their limited ability to provide accurate demonstrations. However, despite all these limitations, I found their proficiency as non-native English speakers. All teachers prioritize formal learning over pronunciation teaching. So that's a positive findings in my study compared to the other literature, where I found that NNS teachers are quite afraid of teaching pronunciations and they believe they should not teach it. This is native speakers' job. Actually, they don't think so. They think despite being non-native English speaking teachers, they should teach it to their students as part of curricula, but they need appropriate professional and accurate professional training, how to teach pronunciation, and that will definitely make them eligible. It's not their identity actually. But instead, they enjoy teaching pronunciation, contrary to literature, then often depicts it negatively. So these findings suggest the need for localized teacher preparation models that address the pronunciation professional learning needs of English teachers from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds, like my teachers in my study. That's what I'm really working in my PhD. Like I will be looking at how government initiated professional learning is impacting their ability to teach speaking, including pronunciation, like all speaking skills, including pronunciation. So I'll be focusing on all types of speaking lessons included at elementary level. That's all from me today. These are the references I have used, but these are not exhausted. I can provide you with many more. Anyway, it's last but not the least that keep teaching and assessing pronunciation and speaking to your EFL, like particularly those who are EFL students, because really I won't do this for them. And nowadays, assessing writing has been a bit discriminative or humiliating in some cases. So I would like to prefer assessing or testing speaking ability to know about my students' real language proficiency or ability. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions.